Hi everyone, I'm Doc Ken and welcome to Biological Science Chapter 3 entitled Plants. So plant is divided into two main parts. We have the shoots and the roots. When we talk about shoots, these are the structures above ground of a plant that include the stem, leaves, flowers, and fruits. When we talk about roots, these are the structures that anchor the plant to the ground and absorb water and minerals from the surrounding environment. Roots are branched underground structures that serve two major functions. What are those? One is to firmly anchor the plant to a fixed spot. Once a plant takes roots and begins to grow in an area with good access to moisture, soil nutrients, and light, it pays to stay. Second, roots serve as a transport system, allowing the plant to suck up water and dissolve nutrients from the soil to support the plant's growth. Let's now move on to the root system. First, let's discuss taproot. What is taproot? A taproot is when there is a one main root that grows straight down deep into the soil. It only has a very few lateral roots that develop and grow off this main root. A taproot penetrates deep into the soil and in some cases can form a storage organ for food. For instance, carrots, radish, beetroot, and turnips. Advantages of a taproot include the fact that they do penetrate deep into the soil and so can locate water and minerals deep underground. Another one is the taproot is also good at anchoring the plant into the soil, so preventing them from being blown over in windy environment. Next, we have fibrous root. What is a fibrous root? A fibrous root is a root that consists of groups of roots of similar size and length. They do not penetrate as deeply into the soil as does a taproot. Advantages of fibrous root systems include that they allow the plant to absorb water and minerals over a large surface area closer to the surface of the soil. They are also useful in helping prevent or reduce soil erosion since these root systems help hold the soil particles together. Let's now proceed to the features of a root system. First, let's talk about lateral roots. Lateral roots extends horizontally from the primary root and over time make up the iconic branching pattern of the root system. They continue to anchoring the plant securely into the soil, increasing water uptake and facilitates the extraction of nutrients required for the growth and development of the plant. Next is root hair. Root hair are extension of root epidermal cells that are important for acquisitions of nutrients and greatly increase the surface area for absorption. Next in line, apical root meristem. Apical root meristem is a zone of cell growth into the root tips in plants. Apical root meristems give rise to the plant and are responsible for the extension of the roots. Next, the root cap. The root cap is a type of tissue at the tip of a plant root that provides protection. And lastly, primary root. Primary root is the first organ to appear when a seed germinates. It grows downward into the soil, anchoring the seeding. It becomes a taproot and it grows downward, and secondary roots grow laterally from it to form a taproot system. Let's now proceed to the next topic, stem. Stem are sturdy structures that grow in order to give a plant a fighting chance to spread its leaves in the sun. It is a tube-like structure which provides a support to the body of the plant. Stem growth can add to the plant's height, broaden the area covered by the leaves, or even direct growth from a dark area toward one with more light. To provide mechanical support for a growing plant, stems need to be strong to help move water and nutrients to the further reaches of the plant. Stems are stuffed with little transport pipes in the form of xylem and phloem. It is also the passageway of substances to the different parts of the plant. Next, we have leaves. Leaves are the original solar panels capturing energy from the sunlight in a biochemical process called photosynthesis, where plants absorb carbon dioxide, light energy from the sun, and water, and they release oxygen. Leaves serve as the principal site of photosynthetic reaction. Let's now move on to the different features of the leaf. We have the blade, cuticle, and stomata. The leaf is the primary photosynthetic organ of the plant. It consists of a flattened portion called the blade that is attached to the plant by a structure. The outer surface of the leaf has a thin waxy covering called the cuticle. This layer's primary function is to prevent water loss within the leaf. However, plants that live entirely within water do not have a cuticle. And lastly, the leaf also has a tiny holes called stomata. Stomata that allow substances such as water, oxygen, carbon dioxide to pass through as they either enter or leave the plant. Specialized cells called guard cells surround the stomata and are shaped like two cup hands. Changes within water pressure cause the singular stomata to open or to close. Let's now move on to the flowers. Flowers are collections of reproductive and sterile tissue. It has four major parts. We have the sepals, petals, stamen, and pistil. The vegetative part of a flower consists of the following. We have the petals and sepals. Petals, these are bright colored parts that attract bees, insects, and birds. Color of petals varies from plant to plant. Some are bright while some are pale colored. Thus, petals help us to differentiate one flower from another. Next is sepals. Sepals are the green colored parts beneath the petals to protect rising buds. Some flowers have fused petal sepals while a few have separated petals and sepals. Next, we have the reproductive parts of a flower. We have the stamen and the pistil. Stamen is the male reproductive organ and it consists of two parts, namely anther and filaments. Next is pistil, which is the innermost part and the female reproductive organ of a flower, which comprises three parts, stigma, style, and ovary. This is collectively known as pistil. Let's now move on to the different classifications of a flower. Flower can be either complete or incomplete. A complete flower is the one that consists of sepals, petals, stamens, and pistil, or the four major parts of a flower. On the contrary, an incomplete flower is the one that lacks one or more of these structures. A flower can also be either perfect or imperfect. Perfect flower consists of both male and female structures in one flower, and this is called bisexual. Imperfect flower consists of one female or one male reproductive structure, and this is called unisexual flower. A flower that consists of a female reproductive structure is called pistillate flower. And a flower that consists of male reproductive organ is called staminate flower. Let's now move on to another topic, which is the fruit. In botany, a fruit is the seed-bearing structure in flowering plants, also known as angiosperm, formed from the ovary after flowering. Fruit contains and serves as a protective covering of seeds. So these are divided into three layers. We have the exocarp, which is the outermost layer, mesocarp, which is the middle layer, and lastly, we have the endocarp, which is the inner layer of the fruit. Next topic, plant tropism. Plant tropism is the ability of the plant to respond to external stimuli. Plant tropisms are mechanisms by which plants adapt to the environmental changes. A tropism is a growth toward or away from the stimulus. Common stimuli that influences plant growth include light, gravity, and touch. First, let's talk about phototropism. Photo means light, tropism means response. Phototropism is the directional growth of an organism in response to light. If the plant grows toward light, it is positive tropism. If the plant grows away from the light, it is a negative phototropism. Next, we have Thigmotropism. Thigmotropism describes plant growth in response to touch or contact with a solid object. Positive thigmotropism is demonstrated by climbing plants or vines. And lastly, we have Gravitropism or Geotropism. Gravitropism is growth in response to gravity. Gravitropism is very important in plants as it directs root growth toward the pull of gravity, which refers to positive gravitropism, and stem growth in the opposite direction is referred to as negative gravitropism. The orientation of a plant's root and shoot system to gravity can be observed in the stages of germination in a seedling. As the embryonic root emerges from the seed, it grows downward in the direction of gravity. Next, plant reproduction. There are several ways by which plants produce their offspring. These are categorized into two types. We have asexual and sexual reproduction. In order for sexual reproduction to take place, male and female gametes must fuse to produce the first cell of the new embryonic plant, and this can be happen through the process called pollination. Most of the plants have roots, stem, and leaves, and these are called vegetative parts of a plant. Vegetative propagation is a type of asexual reproduction in which new plants are produced from roots, stems, leaves, and buds. Since reproduction is through the vegetative parts of the plant, it is also known as vegetative propagation. Asexual reproduction can be either apomixis or a vegetative reproduction. Apomixis is asexual reproduction without fertilization that occurs via seed. Vegetative reproduction is any form of asexual reproduction occurring in plants in which a new plant grows from a fragment of the parent plant or a specialized reproductive structure. This has four types. We have fragmentation, which are the portions of a parent plant break up and give growth to a new one. Next, we have runners, which are the portions of a parent plant radiates horizontally along the surface of the ground. A good examples of this are Bermuda grass and strawberries. Rhizomes, these are similar to runners but grow underground. Good examples of this are asparagus and ginger. And lastly, we have suckers. These are produced at the parent plant's roots. And a good example of this is a banana tree.